Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about New World. So for those of you who don't know, New World is an MMORPG by Amazon Game Studios released on September 28th, 2021. With the 1-year anniversary of New World's release coming up, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the full history of New World so far, from its initial announcement back in 2016 to the Brimstone Sands expansion update that was just recently announced. This is not necessarily a lore video, but if you would like to see a lore video, make sure to let me know down in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more just like it, drop a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. New World was initially revealed in September of 2016 at TwitchCon by Amazon Game Studios, who announced that they'd be working on 3 games: Breakaway, Crucible, and New World. Breakaway was cancelled in March of 2018, followed by Crucible on October 9th, 2020. Both Amazon Game Studios and Relentless Studios shifted their focus toward New World. The game was originally given a release date of May 2020 and was supposed to be a free-to-play game, but was then changed to a standard one-time payment model. Any players who had signed up to play the game prior to this change were given the game for free at launch. Anyone else who pre-ordered the game had to pay $40 for the standard edition, or $50 for the deluxe edition. New World was then pushed back to August 2020 due to the pandemic, and was then pushed back a few more times and given a final official release date of September 28th, 2021. There was a pre-alpha playtest that ran from October of 2018 into June of 2019 that allowed players to test the game and see how it played. At the time, the map was much different from today's map. The outposts that are in the northern part of today's map were used as settlements, and dying in PvP combat meant you would lose all your items, along with many UI differences that we see today. After the event, many changes were made, but the one to receive the most backlash was PvP. PvP did experience some changes throughout the alpha, but for the most part, as previously mentioned, you were always vulnerable to attacks from other players at any time. You needed to flag as a criminal to kill players, and you could only be attacked by people who were flagged as criminals. If you died well flagged as a criminal, you would lose all of your gear as well as anything else in your inventory at the time, and if you died to a criminal, you would lose all the items in your inventory, but you would still have all of your equipped gear, with slight damage being taken to those pieces of gear. Many people liked this feature, especially people who had played survival games like Rust, for example. But because of this system, groups or individual high-level players would target low-level players and kill them just to be toxic toward them. This led Amazon Game Studios to shift New World's focus to be more of a PvE-focused game with some PvP elements, rather than a more primarily PvP-focused game that they had before. This introduced the current PvP systems that we currently use today, and this also introduced PvE components such as corrupted breaches, invasions, and many more future changes that were to be made. Throughout the next couple of months, Amazon Game Studios shared more information about different systems like settlements, housing, factions, and companies. They had also announced a preview event that would take place from August 25th, 2020 to September 4th. Before this could take place, they ran a density test to see how their servers could handle a large amount of players playing the game for the first time. This test was under NDA, so there's not very much gameplay or footage from this build of the game, but it is similar to the alpha build that was around at the time. After the preview event, there was a lot of feedback given to the developers. At the time, there were 3 weapon slots, with all weapon ability cooldowns being shared across all 3 weapons. This is a controversial feature yet again, and was changed in the alpha following the preview. The changes they made were to remove one of the weapon slots and make each weapon's ability cooldowns independent from each other. They also added the spear into the game, made some balancing changes to some of the weapons like the hatchet and life staff, along with many other changes to the economy, progression, gear, and perks. And in November of 2020, a new region, Reekwater, was being teased by Amazon Game Studios. In January of 2021, the crafting system was revised, with many changes such as the appearance of crafting stations changing with cities, inventory improvements, more resources and crafting materials, updates to trade skill progression, and more crafting recipes, just to name a few. Later on in March, quest design was updated, adding more quests and unique weapons and armor, making changes and improvements to new player experience, the introduction of Outpost Rush, a 20v20 PvP mode, adding the previously mentioned Reekwater region, along with a new region known as Ebonscale Reach, and probably the biggest update of them all, Expeditions. Expeditions, or dungeons, were added to the game to add to the PvE experience, along with the main questline of the game. The expeditions added to the game included the Amaranth Excavation, intended for players level 25 and up, and Garden of Genesis, meant for level 60 players as endgame content. In May of 2021, one of the most controversial features was announced by Amazon Game Studios, the in-game store. AGS claimed that any items in the in-game store would be solely cosmetic and would not give any players a PvE or PvP advantage whatsoever. But they did state that they would look into the future possibility of rested XP bonuses without creating a pay-to-win environment. The community was still not happy about this, and the rested XP system would eventually be turned into something that all players received for free, from being away from the game for a certain amount of time. Throughout the month of June, AGS made many changes to progression, loot, crafting, user interface, character creation, combat balance, achievements, AI companies, and a total of over 1,209 bug fixes. Shortly after this, in July, the game received its final delay from August 31st to September 28th, 2021, just ahead of the closed beta, which took place from July 20th until August 2nd, 2021. During this beta, many of the world's most popular streamers and content creators led an event called the Battle for New World, which was a competition between the three factions within the game, the Covenant, the Syndicate, and the Marauders, which the Syndicate won in both regions. On the first day of the closed beta, roughly 200,000 concurrent players were reported. On August 25th, 2021, they announced an open beta for anyone who did not get a chance to play during the closed beta. This open beta ran from September 9th until September 12th, 2021. They decided to do this test to try to resolve issues with queue times. Prior to the launch, the New World team released some information about servers and launch times, and they stated that there would be 187 servers at launch across 5 different regions around the world. On September 28th, 2021, New World was officially released to the public for all to play and experience for themselves. A whopping 913,000 players entered a tournament and began the long grind to the endgame. There were also 500,000 Twitch viewers watching some of the biggest streamers play New World, while they were more than likely stuck in a multiple hour queue. Amazon Game Studios severely underestimated the number of people who would be playing the game at launch, with each server limited to just around 2,000 players. Giving players the choice to join any server they wanted meant that players would join the servers that their friends are in, the ones with the most famous content creators, and the ones with the coolest names. This resulted in insane queue times in the thousands of players, some of them being upwards of 20,000 players. Amazon Game Studios tried to combat this by doubling the number of servers and increasing the player count of each server, but by the time they released these updates, players had either chosen the servers they wanted to play on, or they had stopped playing the game entirely. The first two updates, Update 1.01 and Update 1.02, brought a plethora of bug fixes, along with reducing the AFK timer from 25 to 20 minutes. This was yet another attempt to reduce queue times by removing AFK players from the game, but it still was just too little too late. It wasn't until 1.03 that they released information about server transfers. Any players who were in the game prior to this update received a free server transfer. To buy server transfers later on, it would cost you $15, which is still the price to this day. Since October, they have added new cosmetics to the in-game store. Update 1.04 toward the end of October rolled out server transfers and updates to Outpost Rush, and Update 1.05 in November addressed gold sellers. Their solution to these gold sellers spamming in the chat was adding a restriction to trading for people under level 10 or accounts that were less than 72 hours old. They also did a few balance updates. It was around this time that the public test run was announced, allowing players to test out new mechanics that were added to the game. The first of these features was the Void Gauntlet, along with the new enemy type known as the Varangian Raiders. They also made some changes to trading, as well as adding more quests and improving upon the ones that were already in the game. On November 18th, the Void Gauntlet was officially added into the game in Update 1.1, along with a laundry list of bug fixes and other small changes. Update 1.1.1 added a few small changes to the game, followed by Update 1.2, which is the beginning of the Winter Convergence Festival, which ran from December 16th, 2021 to January 25th, 2022. This event added some new quests along with some earnable cosmetics, as well as paid ones. From Update 1.2.2 in January of 2022 to Update 1.3.4 in March, nothing too significant other than some bug fixes and general updates occurred, other than the addition of Expedition Mutators, which enhances the difficulty of the expeditions and grants better rewards in return. On March 30th, 2022, they added the Tempest Heart Expedition, which is an endgame expedition, along with the Blunderbuss. From April to May, the game received a few bug fixes with the addition of a few perks, and on May 26, 2022, 3v3 arenas were added into the game, as well as the PvP reward track. In June, AGS announced the future removal of tuning orbs for expeditions and replacing them with an expedition limiter system. There was also the announcement of a new expedition coming soon known as the Barnacles and Black Powder Expedition. This was also the first time that a new region known as Brimstone Sands, a new weapon known as the Greatsword, a new expedition known as the Aneed, an expedition group finder, and 2 new events, Night Vale Hollow and Turkalon 2022, were mentioned. The Summer Medley Fair update in late July of 2022 brought with it musical instruments, the Barnacles and Black Powder Expedition, the removal of tuning orbs, and made wars instance-based to help with server latency. Changes were also made to the trade skill leveling system. Now, where we are today, during the August team update, Amazon Game Studios went more in depth on the new region known as Brimstone Sands. This update will be including the new territory, a new weapon known as the Greatsword, a new expedition known as the Aeneid, a revamped starting experience, and it was announced that there are changes being made to the current territory management system to prevent shell companies from taking over entire maps and owning all of the land in one server. This is actually playable right now on the current PTR build, and you can experience many of these new changes for yourself. The Brimstone Sands expansion is set to release sometime this October. A popular Twitch streamer, Asmongold, asked the devs at an event if mounts were ever going to be added into the game, to which they simply replied, yes. Here's a clip right here if you haven't already seen it.
You know, after we did the whole, they gave us the whole presentation, I got a chance to ask this guy, Scott, a question. And I asked him a question. I said, Scott, are we going to get mounts in New World? He said, yes. And straight up, he's like, yes, we're going to do that. We are getting mounts in New World. Tally messages me. He's like, bro, was it that easy? I'm like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, they're going to be adding mounts in New World. I don't know when that's going to happen, but like it makes sense, right? Because they're making the world bigger, so there's more of a reason to have mounts. Never happened? Yeah, I made this whole thing up, man. This shit did not happen at all. Yeah, the whole thing, it's all fake, guys. New World's not even real. It's not new, it's just called World.
As of right now, this is the entire developmental history of New World. If you are considering coming back to the game or buying the game if you don't already own it, I would personally recommend it because of the bright future that the game has. There is so much that has come to the game in just under 1 year of the game being released, and there's so much more coming in the future. And if there's anything that I missed, please let me know in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed and want to see more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. Go check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/vlistTV. I go live on there occasionally. Again, thank you so much for sticking around until the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.